Yeah, I hear you. All right, so everybody's here that I'm aware that's coming. So we're gonna go ahead and start the meeting. It's being recorded. Welcome to the May 4th Commission on Disability Zoom meeting. Um,
Right.
Do we have a note taker?
we do not. So I was going to ask if you were willing, or would you like me to ask somebody else?
No, I can do it.
Hold on, my puppy. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Hold on, guys. Okay. So yeah, we have a couple people that are going to be missing today. Sarah, who is like the advocate for Bobby and Bryce, so that they can't make it today. And Kelsey can't make it. Of course, my dog is barking right now. Okay, well, I'm happy to see all of you, and I see that we have two people maybe would fall under public speak. So we're gonna go ahead and Louise, hi. I've never met you. We've only talked online.
I know. I was like, I know what you look like now. But I mean, you're Angelique. You're not Easthampton Zoom. After a year, I should know that. But good to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Did you want to talk about anything, or are you just here to like watch or contribute, or?
Both. And it's ironic because you and I had a Facebook chat about a year ago.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 points in it.
Go ahead.
And the first one is, now, I mean, it's great to see this committee full. I've been watching it from afar. It does impact me in some ways. And with an agenda that I'm really curious about, so I'm definitely sticking around. But how do we reach you? Because that was I mean, I know that so that's one thing. I know that Zoom, what's it called? The city website is undergoing supposedly a upgrade something. But if somebody goes to and I know when we talked last time, like the planning department is pretty busy and not really the best way to get through on disability issues. So and now remembering that it's public speak, so we can't have a conversation. Can I leave that as a question? Have there been any improvements, any, channels? And I'll go back as a segue to my second question, which will come from 2 years ago, that if you do have disability issues or access issues, and you go to the official city website, there's kind of nothing. I know Easthampton's a small city, so therefore there's no actual department, there's no paid staff, but you have to wait until, Los Angelique knows in my experience, a third party gave me her name on Facebook because I was complaining about something or other, but really, especially in a city whose mayor is an avowed avowed disbeliever in Facebook, there should be a better and official way. So that's my first question, leaving you with. And my second one, which is part of it, this is weird, is a personal sort of plea. And it's comes from the interstices of being fairly new to the city and suffering various disabilities. I had some. I don't want to go into it because, like, really walking small distances was difficult for me. Walking stairs was a nightmare. I am lucky personally that I've had an operation, and eventually that aspect of restrictions will become better. But there are almost no signs anywhere. If there was a sign where it says disabled access the first time you drive up to the back of the town hall, if should you follow that ramp, there were signs indoors so you don't walk all the way to the end of the hallway and back looking for the elevator. That can be that would be one example. Hi Jeff, sorry, but you know the whole elevator problems because you referred to it that I had 2 years ago, one of those marvelous planning meetings. There is no sign, again, if you're a newcomer, and if a meeting is being held at Pepin, you see a sign, you use the handrails, you haul yourself slowly up to the top of the front door. You suspect that the office is not staffed in the evening for an adult meeting, but there is nothing there. Then you have to go down and eventually, well, you don't go around. In that particular case, I knew somebody who was in the meeting. I texted, and that's how I eventually got in. And those are just two small things, but they add up. So it's something I've wanted to say for over a year. If Easthampton could kind of think from that perspective and just have signage everywhere, which is a pretty cheap thing to do. I'll leave it there, and I'm happy outside of public speak to talk to anybody about additional details. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
Are you
Hi.
here as a guest or did you want to do a public speak?
I'll just do a public speak because I don't have time to stay on for the whole meeting, but
Okay.
I just wanted to come and personally thank you for your very thorough letter that you submitted to the Ordinance Review Committee. We went over it yesterday about snow removal, and it was really, really helpful and just re-emphasized the importance of getting different perspectives on everything, because we had looked at it first from the perspective of just people having to shovel if they weren't able to shovel, and didn't even really take into consideration all the important points that you guys brought up in terms of restricting someone's path to get somewhere, and kind of the preferential treatment given to people who drive cars. And so these are all really important. So I just wanted to personally show up and thank you for that letter and for any other perspective. I'm on the Public Safety Committee, and I see a lot of work we could collaborate on, because I'd personally like to bring that to the public safety agenda. And just today I got a letter, or I got a call from the mayor's office because an email, there's someone who's having trouble crossing Park Street, and it's been unsafe for that person in a wheelchair. So I just really see a lot of places where accessibility issues and safety and public safety could work together. So I just kind of wanted to open up that dialogue, and we could, you know, talk somewhere off meeting, or our meeting. Is this meeting at 6? We've got a big agenda because of the mayor's pledge we're working on, but that doesn't mean this work can't get started as well. So I just wanted to show up and say that, and again, thank you for that thorough submission. That's all.
Thank you so much. Did you get the one around the straws?
Well, yeah, well, the straws, when that first ordinance was written, there was input from, from people concerned, making sure that people with disabilities were not forced to not have could have access to straws. I guess what we were wondering was, because the language now is that you have to ask for a straw. So we were just wondering when we were looking at that, is that enough? Like if somebody needed access to a straw, should there be a sign like straws available upon request, or just putting that onus that if there's no straw, no straws offered to you, that you have to ask for it if you need it. We were just wondering if that could be kind of expanded a little bit to be more friendly to people with disabilities.
Awesome, thank you.
I have some commentary on that. I think like once you have to ask for an accommodation, you're stigmatizing yourself. Number one. Number two, you become that pain in the butt person that is asking for the special request. And it's not the same as universal design. It's, I just, it's once you're having to, it's like, it's like asking for a special dietary thing at something that's supposed to be that's supposed to be, where everybody gets the same thing. And, you never know when the other person is like, oh God, one of those difficult people making me dig all the way and back. Um, so it's just, I struggle with this debate. Why we're as a parent and as someone who's helped people with developmentally disability for years. I was a staff at Riverside, and I would take people out to coffee shops, and those paper straws just don't last with people with excess saliva production, or with people with spasticity in the mouth, or, and also experience with a young child and just having to go through 10 paper straws just because, yeah, it's so, I don't know. And I just wonder, what is the environmental impact of actually getting rid of plastic straws, and why are we sacrificing something that works fine as a universal design feature for something that's token and has absolutely no impact on anything? Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that was good to hear from you, Jeff. Jeff Baggy, raise your hand.
Yeah, I just had, if I could, I had a question for Councilor Rothschild. So something that Louise said about contacting the commission is something that we've talked about as the commission before, but can you give a quick update on the status of getting, email addresses for the chairs of committees? Because I think that was one of the things that would be potentially useful here, is to have not anyone's personal email up there, and that would be one of the access points.
Yeah, hold on, my iPhone just took over my computer. 1 second.
And then just real quick, the other thing I just wanted to say in terms of signage and things for accessibility, and we have really tried pretty hard. We've applied 3 times in a row for the state grant to do the self-assessment and evaluation of our buildings. And unfortunately, for various reasons, which are not related to Easthampton, we have not gotten any of those grants. We've applied 3 times, and the state does tell us to keep applying, that it's a problem of geographic distribution of the grants. But that would be one of the projects that we have a consultant come in and do the evaluation of all of our buildings, identify where there are gaps in those types of things, so signage or even just physical access, restrictions, and then come up with a prioritized list. And once we have the prioritized list, then we have access to actual funding for the improvements. So it's too slow. I'm happy to say that, but we have tried. And so there are things, in the works, I think with both of those items. But Lindsay, do you have an update on the email?
Yeah, we just approved funding as an appropriation to make the switch to Google as a city. We're going to become a Google city. And also in that switch, we're also going to be giving each committee and board an email address. And so that email address, it's the particulars of how that will be managed is like maybe one person in each committee or two people will be the ones responding to that email. But we definitely want to make it, and also our website in general, Louise, we know that's a problem. That's like universally agreed. The Easthampton website is, I mean, my field is web design, you know, like user design, and I can't find anything on there. So, but this mayor does have funding, and we have a new IT director. And so that is something that's going to be moving forward in the next year, is making that website more user friendly for everyone. And that includes having contact information for each committee and board. I will say our new IT director, I had the privilege of working with her at Holyoke Community College. And one of the things we focused on together was universal design. I did a lot of training around that with faculty, teaching people how to make their online courses designed. And so I know that our IT director is well-versed and knowledgeable and cares about this issue. So that's another person who, when you have web concerns, you can, you know, email. I mean, she's got a lot on her plate, but I just mean, it's a welcome, she'll welcome those kind of concerns and issues and has background knowledge about it. So we are moving forward in the right direction. And of course, it's never quick enough for the people whose lives it affects directly, but I'm happy to collaborate more. And I really do see a lot for public safety and this group to do together.
So, Jeff, so if citizens have their own priorities that aren't part of this systematic review and the things that are easy to do, why can't we just do it?
Well, I guess you might be referring to the signage in town hall, like as an example. I mean, I don't think it's that easy to do. I don't think I don't think that qualifies as an easy. I think it's, you know, there has to be the assessment by someone qualified to determine, you know, what is lacking and what is necessary. And so, you know, those things are often require funding to have that assessment done. So, you know, I appreciate that comment, Eli. I don't know that it's easy necessarily. And that's one of the struggles I think we always face is how do we get a project to the place where it could get funding, get the commitment from people to work on it, and then actually, you know, complete the project too. So, you know, this group has talked about the priorities. You know, we have a long list of priorities as the commission to do, and it's just difficult to move a lot of the projects, especially a lot of projects all at once. So I was really hopeful that we were gonna, when we applied for the grant last time, that would have been our opportunity to do that. And when we did, I did discuss the application with the Office of Mobility, and they said they encouraged us to continue to apply again. And I think that would be one of the best case scenarios, is we would have the consultant paid for to do the assessment, and it would come up with the list of action items by sort of that qualified professional to tell us what we need. You know, there could be some other more maybe makeshift things, but I don't know how to do that. And so I don't know how we would initiate that type of project in the meantime. So
I see. I
mean, I can appreciate that it seems easy, and I think, you know, Luis's comment is straightforward, but I don't know, you know, you have to have, there's probably requirements and procedures that we'd have to follow, that we would have to come up with a plan for that.
I see.
And Jeff, you said that when we keep applying, they said eventually they get to you, because they don't issue it to like the same city more than once in a row or something, correct?
Yeah, you know, there's communities are supposed to have a transition plan and some other important, you know, documentation and planning efforts underway, and they said that they focused on communities that had never had anything. whereas ours is we technically had one dated 2009. So if they had more requests for funding than they had the funds, which is very common, but they said that they prioritized the communities that had never had any of the planning work ever done, but that they encouraged us to reapply. So that's the plan. I think we're about 6 months from another grant round being open, but Jamie and I worked on that, and we have the grant application ready, and it would give us the assessment of all of our city-owned buildings for kind of things precisely what Luis had mentioned. So that's about what I have, I guess, to share.
Okay. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to bring? I know you said you had limited time. No, you're good. Okay. Hi, Jamie. Speaking of things that in Easthampton, I just wanted to briefly talk about how some of us took the survey and how that's going and all of. You said you made some updates and things on your side based off of what Kelsey wrote to you, or no?
I haven't made those updates yet. I did receive Kelsey's comments, but I did not have a chance yet to make those updates.
That's okay. There we go. Off mute. That's okay. For those of you that may not have been at the last couple meetings, we got the survey kind of finalized, the questions, and we have it up, and we're in the process of testing it. So if you haven't already given it a try, like I can send you the link if you don't have it already. And then your comments, of course, are welcome, so we can get it going and out to the public.
Yeah, can you send the link again, please?
Absolutely. Let's see what else. In terms of I'm not sure if I mentioned this last meeting, but based off of my attendance at the city council meeting, the Reminder wanted to do an article on the Commission on Disability. And so that person had interviewed me and interviewed Kelsey, but then they left their position at the newspaper, and so it's being handed to someone else. And so I'm not sure when it's going to come out, but they'll notify me. And then because that was one of our topics, how to let people know we're here. So now that the link is maybe by the time it's being put out to the public, maybe the link will be ready to go. So we'll see. Okay.
Can I add to that? So did you get a follow-up from them on if the new has it been handed over to the new person? Do you know?
It did, yeah. And then it was a gentleman. So it was a woman that was writing it, and then it was a gentleman that contacted me. Did you want their information or you just asking?
Just asking. I mean, I think there would be a big value to trying to have that survey link available or ready for an article and a reminder. I think that would be that's a lot of the strategies that we would normally employ is to take that opportunity and promote the survey. So sometimes they have an urgency to their articles, but in this case it could be good, Angelique, if you're the person reaching out to them, it's just reach out to them and say, I don't know how long we as a group need, but I think if you tell them that you're working on finishing up a survey and that would be a great part of the article, like that might be worthwhile to tell them, and then see if they can hold it a little bit longer until that's ready.
I'll do that right after the meeting. They were not in a rush. In fact, she was sad that it wasn't going in. She just said there's so many things going into the newspaper that we kind of had to wait our turn. So but yeah, right after the meeting, I'll write to them and let them know about that.
No, I think that's good. And I know that I will admit that I have not been highly involved in that survey, but one other thing is maybe if there's a small group, because you guys have met as kind of like a subcommittee in between now and the next meeting, it could be good to try to button that up. I think it seems like we're very closer than we've ever been. And I think launching it with an article and a reminder would be great. It would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys have any questions or anything on the survey that I can help with? No? Okay. I just wanted to do, that made me think of something. I just wanted to do a reminder that if you haven't already contributed your contact information to the contact list and you want to contribute your information, you can either send an email to me, or I think you can actually go right to the link and update it. And if you don't have it, I can send it to you.
Yeah, can you send me the link?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that I'm not sure when to bring up, but I've been going back and forth about is whether or not we do a time change. What's happening because of COVID and people changing jobs and stuff is that some members can make it, some members can't make it. And, I hate to see anybody go. I think all of our members are extremely valuable. For instance, Kelsey, unfortunately, she won't be able to make it to any more meetings. And she's working on 3 or 4 different projects right now. So I'm not really sure if we can't change the time, I'd love to hear ideas on how I could still have somebody that can't make it contribute. And Jamie, I'm not sure about I know there's some sort of rule about how many meetings you can miss or not miss and still be a member, but does that apply during the COVID things and all the transitions, or so? What would you say?
My understanding is that those rules are guidelines. So if someone wants to get rid of a member of the committee who has not been showing up, and they haven't made it to, I forget what the numbers are. It's like every other meeting, if they've missed 6 meetings in a year or something like that, that would allow the chair to be able to ask that person to step down, or force that person to step down. You can always ask someone to step down if they don't have a time commitment. We don't have to rely on the ordinance to force someone out, and it's not automatic either. So it still requires an action of the chair or the board to vote someone off the committee if they're not meeting those attendance requirements.
It's the other way around. I want to try to see how I can keep them without, if they can't make it.
I mean, so if you don't, if their absence is not stopping the committee from getting their work done, which is often the case when you start to have, if you have a 6-member board and one person doesn't make it regularly, not a big deal, you still have quorum. But if you have a 6-member board and 4 people aren't making it regularly, then you need to start getting rid of people who aren't showing up because they're holding the board back. So it's up to the chair to decide, if someone's value sporadically is better than, not having them on the board at all. And that's your choice to make that decision how you see fit. So you don't have to force someone off if you don't want to. You can keep allowing them to miss meetings. Some chairs of different committees treat excused absences differently than, or like absences with notice differently than just unexcused absence. So, where that someone has a standing commitment at 10 a.m., maybe you want to leave them on the committee for a while just to see if the board wants to change times, the meeting time, to accommodate their schedule.
Okay, have you guys come up with any solution on how, like, if they're working on a project, how they could still I don't know, communicate with us about how the project is going or continue to work on a project without being there? Because I don't have the same qualifications as some of the people that are working on projects. So like if I was to comment or try to describe the, the work they've done, I just don't think I would do it justice. So, but no, there's no like precedent that's been happening.
Because of the public meeting laws, you can't have discussions outside of a public meeting. So if, let's say, Kelsey and you have a conversation about something, that's fine. But the minute that then you forward that email to the rest of the committee, it's as if the whole committee is having a conversation about that, and in terms of public meeting law.
What
So-
about pre-record? Like, could they do something like that? Like if they were going to describe, could they do a pre-recorded thing that then could be played at the meeting?
Yeah, I mean, if the update happens at the meeting, then it's not in violation of the open meeting law. But I think that if we're having trouble with members making the meeting, then I think it makes sense to consider a time change, a time change or a date change, and
yes. The problem is that there's a couple members that then can't make it if I make it earlier, right? So
and that's, if you poll everybody about their availability, you might find that there's a time that works. You might find that there's no time that works perfectly for all the members, and again, that's then your choice as your decision as chair of which which members are the ones that are going to be able to make it based off the meeting time and date that you choose.
Okay. Thank you for all of that.
But I would just say that given that the understanding is that when most of the people have been on this committee, the meeting has been Tuesday at 10 a.m. When they signed up to join the committee, they were making a commitment to Tuesdays at 10 a.m. And so if you're then changing it to a different day and time, you're going to disadvantage someone who knew what the time commitment was and the date commitment and made a choice to be able to join despite that. On the other hand, you might find that there's a date and time that works for everyone even better.
No, that's great. I'm glad you just said that. Like, I appreciate the help. Jeff Brown, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I do. I don't know. I don't have a webcam on this computer, and that's, I don't know, but
That's okay.
So I'm wondering, could Kelsey just write you a write a bullet points email for you to read as a report to the rest of the committee when she's doing subcommittee work? I mean, she can write really fast and effectively, and it would probably take her a minute to brief, and then instead of a pre-recorded video, because I don't know, it just
Right.
seems, yeah. I
I'm
mean,
trying to think outside of the box.
yeah, she's just,
Yeah, I mean, maybe she could. The problem is you can't ask questions back or for clarification either with that. But yeah, I appreciate you suggesting that.
yeah, I don't know. And in terms of the scheduling conflict, I'm sure you're thinking of this, but in terms of our two representatives from Riverside, if we were to push the meeting too early or too late, there's no way they could. There's just the odds of them being able to get support to come to the meetings are just not as good. I mean, you could always ask. Some of them have some support at home and would be able to log on to a Zoom meeting, but some of them don't. I think Bryce would probably be able to do it, and I'm not sure about Bobby, knowing just what's up at their house, just in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've definitely been including them in the conversations, and yeah, especially because they're extremely limited and when they can get to the meeting or not. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Jeff Beck,
So-
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Eli, you can go.
Oh, so I just want to, who other than Kelsey can't make our regular time?
Jeff Brown, can you going forward? Or you're not sure?
I was going to ask a similar question to Eli and I know that there's been a bunch of emails and I kind of lost track, but have we gone through, do you think we've gone through like all the options? I mean, I know that my response was difficulty with evening meetings. So I think like any meeting that starts after 5, I think is tough, just because in my job as the city planner, I mean, I've got a million meetings, but other than that, like, have we run like through each of the days with other options? I wonder if it's worth one more shot at that. Because we still have a pretty unique time now where we're doing these via Zoom. I think someday we will either have to make a choice to continue going with Zoom, or we used to, right? It wasn't that long ago. We used to convene in town hall
Yeah.
for these meetings. So, someday we'll also have to face that. But maybe in the meantime, like while we're still allowed to use Zoom with no other action, maybe taking one more shot at finding a day and time that might work for the majority.
I actually was trying to do that this morning. I was just clarifying. I did clarify with Kelsey. She said it's either 9 a.m. on Tuesday or that's it. Like, so, yeah. So then if I do that, then there's other
right
members
Yep.
that
Okay.
can't make it. So I did not go to another day, or, I mean, evening would definitely be difficult for me as well, because I would have children running around and things like that. So, and like we've talked about in the past, like, just like Jamie said, like, then some people won't be able to make it at all. Because I know I brought up more than once about having like more than one meeting, or just like, and then it gets super complicated with the quorum and all that. So I'm trying to like really take into consideration all the stuff that you guys have been telling me over the past year.
It seems like we just can't accommodate Kelsey. I mean, unfortunately.
I'd like to propose, Angelique, if you put out like a doodle poll with just like what days of the weeks and times, and have everyone respond. Sometimes that's more helpful than a million emails. And then you can just put out like a typical week with the dates and times that definitely work for you, and then everyone else can respond accordingly.
Okay. I've never done that before. So
I can take care of it.
You're gonna do, oh, you're
Yeah.
the best. High five. Jeff, Brown, do you still have a question, or is just your hand still up? And I don't know how to shut that off. Maybe
just stretching. I'm good.
Okay. Let's just double checking the time. Okay, did everybody, just since it was brought up during public speak, did everybody, I didn't even get to approve the minutes. Oops. Can we go back and approve the minutes if you were at last meeting? Can you take a look at them real quick if you haven't already?
I missed the last meeting. I think that was the one where the Zoom link got
Yeah.
different. So I don't know. I think I can vote on the minutes. I can make a motion at least, but we have Jeff and Eli were there, and you, Angelique.
Yeah.
I think you three could probably just approve them. I think that should be fine.
Okay. If that happens again, is there a better way to get a hold of you than email? Because if I can't get the meeting started or something.
Yeah, I mean, the problem that I had with that is that I don't have access to the city council account. So like I couldn't really do anything to turn on that meeting. It's a different account than the planning account. So I don't have access to that. That was the problem I was running into.
No, but then you didn't know we had a meeting. So like, because I couldn't like message people, read emails and start the meeting. So do you have like a work number and I can leave a message, or if things like that happen again?
Yeah. I'll
just send it to me.
I'll put it into the contact list.
Okay. All right. You made a motion to approve the minutes, and I second that motion. And then do I have to say all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so were you guys able to read or take a look at the city ordinance letter that we wrote about the snow removal? I just wanted to see if you guys felt like everything was in there. I know she came and said she appreciated the letter and she wants to do future involvement with the commission, which is awesome. Do you guys have any comments on the letter? Or
I thought the letter was great. My observation would be that just whenever it happens, I don't know what their timeline is, but then to change the ordinance, that's going to be the next kind of like step along the way at some point. And so one thing that is kind of common practice is to look around at some other communities and find out what they have for their snow ordinance and come up with examples. I think that, because I think we've talked about it before, I think it's kind of what we were talking about before, is it sounds easy, but I think it's complex in terms of clarifying who's responsible and the enforcement of that. But I think finding a community who has updated theirs recently, that's always one of the things that's, as planners, it's all try to copy, borrow, and then tune it up to what you need is one method. So I think that would be something that, that committee members could start looking at, is finding if there's a community that has updated, especially with an awareness for people with disabilities. I think if we could find someone, maybe Jeff Dugan, at MOD might have knowledge of other communities who have done something similar. That might be a great place to start. But otherwise, I thought the letter was great. I thought it captured, the essence of what ordinance was looking for with these old ordinances that don't work for everybody.
right.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it, Angelique, that you helped me express those things that I've been trying to.
Oh,
I haven't been able to express.
no, that was amazing. You had contributions that I would never even imagine, because I haven't been through it. So that's why I like our teamwork. Go ahead, Kate. Did you say something?
I have a question about the ordinance because I'm new. I did read it and I thought it was great. But I'm curious about the process. So I primarily work with the Department of Developmental Services, and when they go to change a regulation, for example, the new regulation gets put out for public comment, and then people have the opportunity to submit testimony or a statement about the regulation change. So I'm curious if this type of thing works the same way, where if they're going to be changing the snow ordinance, if that gets put out to the community for public comment before the change, or if it's just a city council type vote.
I don't actually know the answer. Does anybody else?
You know, I'll try. I mean, it definitely would be a public hearing, but that's kind of close to the end of the process. But so the city council would hold the public hearing and make a vote to approve the ordinance, and then it would take effect. But to kind of like walk backwards from that, you know, we do a lot of zoning ordinances and things like that. So when I talk to people about a zoning ordinance, we talk, and this is like with a concerted effort, people at every meeting and that kind of stuff. So it takes like 4 months to complete the whole ordinance process. The city council has a subcommittee. It's called the ordinance subcommittee. It's a pretty good name. And what they've asked for is to advance a new change. They want to have language that's, so you would take the existing ordinance and either just abandon the whole thing, or in some cases you could redline changes into it and show what the changes would be to get the effect that you're looking for. And so that is really the beginning of the process, so that they would want to have a redlined version of the new ordinance, and then it gets introduced. So a lot of these need sort of a city councilor who's on board and aware of the project and will introduce it to city council. So kind of working backwards, it's where I was just thinking, Kate, is like coming up with, we might have a meeting to talk about the snow ordinance as it is today. We've talked about it here and there, and then figure out what we might need to change to make it much more effective and useful for people who need to get around the sidewalks. Then come up with the red line changes. And then, I think right now it's a great time because the commission has a lot of awareness, and interest from city council. So someone on city council, I'm sure, would take that and introduce it. And then, it goes through a little bit of a process, and there's public hearing. There's 2 public meetings along the way as well for more input, but then there's a formal public hearing at the end. So, I mean, that's kind of a general overview of the process.
Yeah. Also, the ordinance committee is Salem Derby, Owen Zarrett, and Tom Peak. So if we can get one of them involved, that would be ideal.
Thank you. I appreciate the explanation.
So I've been specifically talking with Owen Zarrett about a bunch of things, collaborations, possibly him coming just to because I visited them, they were going to come over here and visit us for a little bit. So yeah. Sorry, my puppy keeps making noise.
And just one thing on the snow, I mean,
yeah.
we had the discussions in the middle of winter. It was very timely because it was snowing out. But if we want to have an ordinance revised and in place for next winter, it would be definitely starting very soon, sooner rather than later. It takes the better part of 6 months to craft it. So even, not to be pessimistic, but just a little bit realistic, it could be a big lift to get it in place for this coming winter. But everyone would have to have a real concerted effort to kind of put that together. And, right now it's enforced by the police department. So engaging them and understanding whether that's still the best way, or whether they could apply more effort, or whether even the police department's the right entity. I think that all those things are kind of ripe for discussion still.
Yep, absolutely. So there's a couple things on the agenda that that have been on there for a while. In Kelsey's absence, we haven't been able to talk a lot about. And so that being, I know she talked with Easthampton TV about closed captioning maybe a couple of months ago. So I'll ask her for maybe a written update on that. I do know, I don't think Miss Rothschild is here anymore, but she did say that they were really taking into consideration, like at their meetings and otherwise, like the importance of having access to that. Yeah, we did meet one time as a community involvement subcommittee, and we started like a possible calendar, and so that's kind of been put on hold, and I'll revisit that with a calendar of like events about, you know, what's going on in the community or things that maybe we come up with. So if you have ideas for that calendar, you can let me know. And then let me see the other, oh, the form document accessibility. I don't have an update on that, so I'll get back to you guys as well. So the other thing that's on here is really just what we were just talking about. It's an ongoing conversation about what we want to do with the commission going forward, action plans, like you said. I know the first one we had on there was the snow ordinance, so that's going somewhere, even if it's going to be a slow process. So I'd just like to hear from you guys if there's other, you know, things that you really want to work on. What, like what do we say? A 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan type of setup?
I think things have been like pretty unreliable in the committee. It's kind of hard to imagine what the situation will be, you know, in a year or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I hear you. It's good to always keep it at least in the back of your head.
I think the commission's done good. It's hard to get stuff done, but you know, I think the survey is close, and I think we, you know, like having the commission really set your sights on getting that out. You know, that's going to provide a lot of data as well, but that seems very close. And then maybe the idea of the snow ordinance, you know, those are two things that could be advanced. And then if we can come up with some way to keep Kelsey on and providing information, even if it's like an email that we don't reply all, but we have an opportunity for her to update the group, that might keep the things like closed captioning going. And then the other, you know, the thing that we also talked about was really looking at the website, which if we had the email of a chairperson there, and we talked about how can we be a little bit more accessible to members of the public. So if they have an issue that's a very local issue, we talked about kind of there being an easy form for that, because the more complex, you know, ADA complaints, they either go to myself as the ADA coordinator, or they go right to the state. So just making it a little bit clearer for someone like Luis has come and kind of raised, like, how do I get in touch with the commission? So like we have those are kind of like pretty good priority lists for the commission to keep working on, and that's been discussed. The longer term goals are, I think, Eli, maybe as we get a solid membership, you know, that might be easier to flesh out.
Jamie, we're maxed out, right, with members at this point? Do you know that? You're not sure? Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that.
Wasn't our max like 13? I don't think we're maxed out.
So what I was looking at is sometimes there's like a document that's put up. I've seen it on like a city councilor's page where it says the amount of availability under each committee for the town. And so for us, it said 1, and then Kate came on. So that's why I was assuming that we were, you know, but I'll look into it.
Because it's all right. So me, you, Kate, Jeff Brown, Bobby, Bryce, Kelsey. That's 7. Am I missing anyone?
No, nope. And that's definitely not 13.
Yeah.
Right. But like we discussed in the past, like we've talked about getting more people, but then that also complicates the time schedule possibly. So, and getting a quorum. So, Yeah, I think that's a good, all of the things that you recapped, Jeff, like, I think it's good to, I'm not sure how to turn those personally into longer goals, like a 5-year plan. So I don't have the experience to do that. So I might need help with something like that, what that might look like down the road. I'm glad you talked to me about the process, how long it takes for a city ordinance to get through, because I didn't even know that much. So yeah.
I can just confirm, I looked online and it on the commission's website, it says that there's 9 members and no vacancies right now. So I am technically a member, though, let's see. We should probably double check it because it shows Jamie as a member too. So I don't know. I know like
Right.
through the structure, the city planner and the ADA coordinator is a member, but I don't think Jamie's kind of
Right.
here to help move stuff forward. So we should double check the membership, and maybe Lindsay in the mayor's office can help
Okay.
look at the charter. If we're at 13 members or 9 members or something like that, we can definitely get to the bottom of that.
Is that who
Yeah.
updates that? Lindsay?
So
Yeah,
I was actually looking in some files yesterday randomly, and I came across something that showed that commissions on disabilities are not less than 5 nor more than 9.
Oh.
So I don't know what in our charter the Commission on Disability has been set at, but there should be a vote by city council or the mayor to set that number at between 5 and 9 members.
Yeah. Also, the reason there's usually an odd number is to make it less likely to have a tie vote. So if Jeff Bagg, if you count as a member but you're not voting, that kind of, it seems like that's undermines the point of the odd number of members.
Oh. Mm-hmm. All right, I'll have a talk with Lindsay or the office and in general and figure out all those answers and get back to you. Are there things that you guys that I haven't mentioned that you want on next month's agenda?
Who's been Angelique, who has had the last couple meetings with the survey? Was that Kelsey and with Eli? Did you guys meet sort of in between the regular meetings?
Not in the past few months, but we were doing that before.
Jamie, could I ask you for maybe a little bit of help between now and the next meeting? Do you think it would be possible for you to touch base with Kelsey and figure out, has the survey been put into SurveyMonkey?
No, we're using the Microsoft OneDrive.
Okay.
Which is going to be complicated by the fact that apparently we're not switching to Google. So if we lose that, if we lose our subscription to OneDrive, then we're going to lose all of the work and effort that we've done there. Okay. And I don't have any idea of what the timeline is for that.
Could you do 2 things in between the next meeting? Could you touch base with the IT director and see if she has any indication of a timeline for our transfer to Google? That should be pretty easy. And then would you potentially be able to touch base with Kelsey and figure out a time maybe to get with her and see how, see how close to ready we could be?
I mean, she sent me some changes, some comments and suggestions, and they were extensive. I haven't had a chance to go through it. I don't know that there's a need for me to. I think I don't know how many iterations of testing, and making changes we want to do. But as soon as I can make those changes, I can send them out to the commission to test it again.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's a need for a conversation. She's already put her thoughts in writing.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess if you can help by incorporating
I'll
those
reach out to,
changes
yeah.
and then send it back out to the group, you know,
Yeah.
maybe like a week before the next meeting, if possible. And that way
Yeah.
at the next meeting, it would be great to like come up with the official plan to release it. Unless I don't think the Google transfer is happening right away. But I don't know for sure. So that would be an important factor as well.
It would be important before I give the information in the newspaper too, in case we send something out, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have said this at the beginning, but Jamie and I both have to hop off at 11 for a different meeting, and it's
Yeah.
coming up real close. So I apologize for saying that earlier. But I think,
No.
Jamie, if you can help do that, maybe a week before the next meeting, and then Angelique, I think your question was what goes on the agenda for next time. So I definitely think the survey and probably the snow ordinance discussion, just keep those on for sure.
Okay. Yeah, other than that, the next meeting I think is June 1st, I believe.
Yeah.
Um,
June 1st is the first Tuesday.
okay. Louise, thanks for coming. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn the meeting for now. Can I have a second?
I second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. I appreciate it. Have a good week.
Thank
All right,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you.